Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed interview series. Today we have Chelsea Rose joining us. Chelsea is a love coach established in 2014. She helps driven women become irresistibly magnetic to the life and love they crave through transformational inner work and feminine embodiment principles. Welcome, Chelsea. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks for the sweet intro.
You are welcome. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, why is it important to be in our feminine energy for a relationship with our men to work, to be really juicy and good?
Oh my gosh, great question. There's so many things. I think the first one to me that I associate with feminine energy is really about us being authentic. I think so many women come to this world of feminine energy and they think they need to act a certain way and put on some facade and try really hard to be feminine. I don't know if you experience that with your clients, but
Absolutely. They get scared. Some of them get scared.
yes. And to me, I'm like, it's literally so backwards, because what's so magnetic about being in your feminine energy is it's your essence. It's revealing who you really are and shining that light. And I like to use the metaphor of a lighthouse. So when you are in your feminine energy, you're really in your essence, you're in your authenticity, and your light is so bright. It's like moths to a flame, and your soulmate, your man, can find you. So this is really for the single women listening here. This is how the feminine energy supports your relationship with a man: is he can find you and he can fall in love with you, because that light is who you really are. And so when you're not shining it, when you're not in your feminine, you're not in your magnetism, he can't identify you. Like you're blocked. You're putting like a block to receiving that love. And so that's the first piece, is it allows him to find you and to find each other, someone who's a perfect match for that light. That's something. And it also allows him to really develop those strong feelings for you and fall in love with you. And I think that the feminine energy is also vulnerable and soft. And that vulnerability, again, a lot of women come to feminine energy trying really hard to act a certain way and forgetting that it's actually about surrendering. It's actually about just being yourself and showing your imperfections. And that is so endearing to a man. And that's actually what I find men fall in love with. And when it comes to when you're in a long-term relationship with a man, that vulnerability piece, which to me is very feminine, it really carries the relationship, because that's the best way to express yourself. When you're feeling something, you need to share with him something uncomfortable, or you need to share a desire or a request. When you're vulnerable versus, being critical or demanding, things that are not our feminine essence, then that pushes him away and creates a barrier, right? But when you're in that feminine energy, being vulnerable, that's just I think the secret to really awesome communication with a man. And I mean, I could go on and on, but one more point I'm going to add to this is that when you're in your feminine energy, since everyone listening, your essence is feminine, right? You're craving being with a masculine man. That's what really creates the polarity. And that's a fancy word for the passion and the chemistry that we all want, and that a lot of women complain to me about not having with certain men. It's like, well, then the goal, the invitation is really to come more into your feminine and then to stay there throughout your relationship. I think those are two unique challenges, like staying in your feminine while you're dating and letting him court you, and allowing yourself to stay soft and receive. And I can break down some like how that really looks later on. But then in relationship, I lost my train of thought because I have some things to say.
Well, what comes to mind to me, if you don't mind me to share this, is that Rumi quote. I love Rumi, you do too, probably, that paraphrasing, but he says that kind of like the crack is the place from where the light comes out, and it's that way of, you know, being vulnerable. And sometimes we think we have to be perfect and have it all figured out and have the career, have the body that we think, you know, the way we should look like, that, you know, it's in our mind. All those things, and all those things are not important for a man. A man is not really looking for that. What he's looking is for a feminine partner. For a masculine man will be attracted to that polarity, to that woman that is soft and is nurturing and it's assertive. I don't want to leave that outside, because this is not about, sometimes my clients, like you said, you were saying about my clients, what my clients fear, until I explain it to them, is that they will become a doormat.
Right.
And so can you explain how this is not
Yes.
about becoming a doormat? This is about being assertive in your feminine power.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm really passionate about that as well.
I know you talk about the archetype of the queen and the king, so maybe,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's exactly. I got notes on this that I wanted to share already today. I love this queen archetype, because it's so different. When you hear queen archetype, you're not really associating that with a doormat. And I think women can feel more resonant with that as a way to connect to the feminine and what it really is, which is absolutely having high standards,
Right.
strong boundaries. But a lot of women have seen either the doormat archetype, which I would consider wounded feminine, so submissive, but to the wrong people, and not honoring her truth, not honoring her standards, and then having a really horrible experience in love, typically from that place. Or the like ice queen,
Right.
rigid woman who's like, you know, and like sends men away or attracts really weak men, you know. And neither one of those are what we're talking about. So like the healthy queen archetype is about having a high sense of self-worth and having the power to express your desires and express what your vision is and receive it. And then if someone is not able to give you what you know you want and need, you have the power and the strength to walk away.
Right.
And you have the power, you have really easy access to your no, to say no, versus the doormat, right, is a yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so I love creating that clarity for women that it's a king. So let's look at what the empowered masculine will be like with the queen. Is he loves a woman who has high standards because he wants a woman who values herself as much as he values her, which is as the most valuable thing in his life. And I think a lot of women haven't experienced that or haven't seen that. But I promise you guys listening, there are so many men who they're waiting to express that love. Like they're just waiting for the right woman. There's so many men that exist who are embodying that and have the capacity to value a woman in the way that she deserves. And just because you haven't experienced it or seen it yet does not mean it's not out there for you.
Right.
And so you really get to start walking with those queen standards so that you can attract it.
Right, right. I thank you for sharing that. I do believe in what you said 100%. I agree on that. Sometimes if, you know, if we don't have a model, if we haven't seen that happening before, it's so hard to believe that. But just the fact of jumping in with both feet and believing and changing our perspective, shifting it, that itself will make us more attentive. We are going to start to see more of those men. It's the same thing. I love that comparison of the red car or the red car.
Yes.
You know, that when you buy a red car, you start to see red cars all over the place. And it's the same with in our quest to find love. When we really know what we are looking for, even if we haven't seen it, but we are going to start to find evidence on that it exists if we really believe.
I love that. I agree. And I think for the women who are on that journey, celebrating every time you see a piece of evidence and every time you experience even a slight shift in what you receive from men, celebrate that, because I think that's how we build the muscle of faith. is it's baby steps, it's micro shifts. And over time, maybe over a few months or over a year, it's like you have a full-blown transformation, but it came one step at a time.
Right.
And so I wanted to just highlight that. It's
I
usually
know. It's
slow. Mhm.
right. And I'm thinking about, how even if they go on a date and, I went on 200 first dates in 2 years.
Wow.
And I was on a mission to treat them all as if they were the one, because you never know. Maybe these men, they have never been treated as the king. So they don't know that there are women that are queens. So I was in this mission of, okay, this guy is not for me, but I am going to model for him what, a great woman is, what high value feminine woman, empowered, assertive, nurturing women looks like. So he can have, faith that there are other women like me. And I did that. And it was an amazing experience. And I'm still, friends with a couple of them on Facebook. Nothing, we're not close friends, but we follow each other. And it's beautiful to see the lives they have built. They are all married with kids and so happy, and they love their wives. And so I truly believe in that. But we do need to make the shift. If we are not there naturally, we do need to make the shift.
Totally. I love that story of you treating them like they're the one. I just think it's we get what we embody. And so I love versus women feeling like dating is a chore and
Right.
almost expecting that there's not going to be a connection because that's their past, like bringing their past into the present over and over. That's part
Right.
of our suffering as human beings. But I just find that so inspiring that you stepped into that level of faith when you had no evidence really for yourself yet. And then, I saw your ring, your beautiful ring on your finger. And so, and obviously you have a happily ever after from that place.
Absolutely, yes, yes, it did work. It did work. And when I met my now husband, we have been together for over 14 years now.
Oh.
It was easy. So I would like you, if you can talk a little bit about that, how practicing, even if it's not the right man, helps us to embody those characteristics.
Oh, yeah. I think that's such an important point. And I think going back to this idea, it's a common complaint that I hear from single women who first start to work with me is dating feels like a chore and they don't want to do it, even though they want love. And I say, like, the dating process is a space for your own self mastery. It's a space where maybe you don't feel strong chemistry. Great. Let this be the guy you practice voicing your truth to because it's low stakes. You're not putting him on a pedestal. You don't feel like you can't breathe because he's the hottest guy you've ever seen. Like,
I
it's
know.
such a gift and it's muscle memory. It's like if you can just make the dating process about yourself, not in like a selfish way, still be present with them and practice being in your feminine and practice being a great listener and communicator, all those things. But rather than seeing dating as a means to an end, seeing it as a process that prepares you to be that queen that is ready for her king, which it sounds like you have. That sounds like that's kind of what happened for you. One of the things, it's like all that experience, and then you experience the ease with your man. Like every date matters, even if you never see that person again.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and then really appreciating when you see traits in a man that you love, even if there's something that's not a match and you probably won't see him again, taking that, you have the option to take that as evidence.
Right.
And be like, oh, wow, this man was so kind. He was such a great listener. He asked great questions. There are men like that in the world. Okay. And taking something from each guy as a gift.
Right.
Um,
There is
and
not better school. So you already mentioned a few characteristics or traits of this feminine queen, the queen archetype.
yeah,
So you mentioned about being vulnerable, You also mentioned about being present and appreciative. So what are some of the other things that high value women do with men that sets them apart from the rest?
Yes, I think they have an ease about, like, it's easy for them to express what they're looking for, being upfront about what their vision is. Like, yeah, I'm looking for my soulmate. I'm looking for my forever partner. I want to have kids, and they just have no block to just being that open and transparent about their standards and about their vision. That's a big one, I think, that high value women do. They're not afraid of a man saying, oh, that's not for me, because they're so strong in their conviction of what they're looking for that they don't hold back their truth in that way.
I love that. I love that. Yes.
I do too. And that's something you can say, like, even in the first conversation with a guy. Don't
I
let
know.
that be something you hide. I feel like we were taught, at least for me, like in my culture, we're taught to be so mysterious and to not say we're looking for something serious, because then that's going to push the right guy away. I cannot believe how backwards that really is. It's so sad.
Absolutely.
So sad.
I have the belief between you and I and thousands of other women. I hope this doesn't backlash me, but I have the belief that dating, as women see it before they work with women like you or me or the other expert, was created by men for men. Really, it only, it's good for them. It's good for them. I mean, what good it does us to not say, what we want. If he's the right guy, and if we, like you said, if we say it's about the way we say it.
Right.
It's about the way we say it and the intention and the expectation behind. I believe sometimes we are afraid to say it because we have the expectation that that man has to give it to us. And that has an energetic charge that is completely different than saying, I want this. And, I don't know if I'm not saying that you have to give it to me, but this is what I want. And I don't want it tomorrow, but maybe in 6 months.
Yeah. That's such a good distinction. We're never putting it on a specific person.
Right,
That would be sort of like that demanding, controlling version of,
right.
archetype that
And
isn't.
men can totally hear that. They
Yeah.
actually appreciate it. It's different. They are like, oh my God, finally a woman that is expressing, is clear and transparent and has a good vision. And I think a lot of times we do have clarity for ourselves. I don't know what you believe about your experiences on this, but a lot of time as women, we have a lot of clarity for ourselves of what we want, but we don't have that extra notch of clarity to say it in a way, share it in a way with the man that he can understand it, that he can see us, hear us, and be inspired by the same, vision.
Right. Like the way to say it. That's so true. That's so true. But once you get it, it's easy. Like once women get it, it isn't as scary. And again, hopefully you get to have a lot of practice expressing it
Right,
till it just rolls off the tongue and there's no resistance. It's like,
right.
oh, like, what's your birthday? It's like as neutral as saying your birthday.
That's
Like,
great.
what's your zodiac sign? I'm a Gemini.
Right,
I want 3 kids, with the right person. Whatever.
right.
I
That's
love.
that's a great example. What's your birthday? If we don't have an issue with that, it's going to just come out. It's, I don't know, January 10. But if we are thinking, oh, we are too old, if we have any negative belief behind it, that's when it comes out charged. And we're like,
Right.
you mean you never ask a woman, when her age in disguise, whatever we come up with all these meanings that
Yes.
are so false. So
Yeah. And I think, oh, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
Going back to your last question, I think that's definitely something that a high value woman does is she takes inventory of what are my beliefs and takes responsibility for those projections so that she doesn't act from that place with men. And she creates a buffer between what she's feeling and what she does to reprogram and make sure she's not acting from that wounded place of fear, which isn't real. All those fears aren't really real, even if you have evidence for them in the past. And so that's absolutely how I would also define a high value woman. She takes responsibility for her beliefs and does the work to change them.
Love
And
Love
not blaming the man for her result, like taking responsibility for her results
Right,
versus blaming men.
right. That was one of the first things I did when I went through my own transformation back in the day, was to take responsibility, to stop. I was, in a way, without knowing, unconsciously, I was waiting for a man to save me. And
Wow.
I was super strong and super successful in all other areas of my life. Super strong. Like, my dad used to say that I should have been a lawyer, to give you an idea of how strong and opinionated I was. Still am, I guess, but I tamed that beast.
You
Um,
learned how to channel it.
I learned how to use it in the right settings, in the right moments. And I don't really use it anymore, being honest. I don't care about being right. I care about being happy.
Oh,
That's it. I really don't. It's such a it's
wow.
such. But anyway, so I was really strong and very successful, and smart and all that stuff. But in my love life, I had this belief, this waiting of waiting for a man to come and save me. And when I let it go and I took responsibility for my own life, that's when the domino effect happened. And it was like one thing that led to the other, to the other, to the other. And here I am, still doing the work. It never ends. But
Right. And that's too such an example of how to me, that's the queen archetype, high value woman archetype, how different that is from being a doormat, because the doormat is a victim
right,
and is looking to be saved and is looking for something external to fix her or to fill her or to make her happy. And I always love to say, like, go live your best life, create the most magical life, and your man is going to be the cherry on top. That
right,
to me is the feminine energy too. That's what a high value woman does. She knows how to take responsibility for her happiness. And I have fallen into that trap. I got to learn this lesson really deeply in my marriage of how you still, even when you find the right man and you're in a happy relationship, you still, like you said, the work never stops, get to prioritize your fulfillment and come from a full cup
right,
person. And then the relationship and everything they bring to you gets to be overflow.
right,
That's hard to achieve, but I think for everyone at times, but that is so feminine, so magnetic.
right.
To treat your man in that way versus a neediness or like an emptiness and asking for things from that place of needing him to fill you in
Right.
an unhealthy way. That's like we're opening a can of worms, but it just that came to
No.
mind.
This whole conversation is like opening kinds of worms, and
Yeah.
we could go down so deep on every single thing we have touched so far. Thank you so much. And the last question,
Well,
how to know if he's the one?
I love this question.
Oh, good, good, good.
Yes, I do. There's a few things, but the first one is something that I want to acknowledge, that I find a lot of women fall into this trap of asking the question, is he the one, on a first date or a second date
Yeah.
or a third date? And it's so funny because it's like, there's such a strong instinct to ask that question. And it might even be happening for women listening subconsciously, but I can tell when they're sharing what a date was like with a man and they say, I don't really think he's my person, but, and
Right,
they'll try to answer it. They're answering it already before it's so inappropriate to even
right,
ask that question. It puts so much unnecessary pressure. There was no way I could ever know that my husband was my person the first time I met him. And maybe you guys have heard a story of someone saying they knew right away. Sure. But I'm sure there were a lot of other things that had to solidify that clarity
Right.
after the initial feeling like this might be my person.
That was my case. I am an example of that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's like you still had to find more things about him before actually getting married.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Absolutely.
even in the fairy tale story of knowing right away, I had a similar situation where things happened really fast for me and my husband, but it was fast, but still time had to pass to make sure that this was the right decision, whether that was 3 months or 3 years, you know,
Right.
and for people. So I think really I want to, whenever this topic of the one comes up, I love to just remind women, pay attention to how you feel with
Right.
him. And it's like, I love the metaphor of a fruit ripening on a tree or whatever. Like your clarity will evolve naturally and progress naturally. And there will be a moment where you have total clarity of either this is or this isn't my person, and not to rush your clarity. As long as you're staying, this is another feminine energy principle, as long as you're staying connected to your intuition and how you feel, and seeing how this man treats you and how you feel with him and when you're not with him, all of those things,
Absolutely.
you're going to know exactly that answer at the perfect time for you. And I think once you have established that this person is the one, it feels like ease, it feels like home, and it feels better than your logical mind could have ever come
Hmm.
up with.
Love it.
Like
Love
I
it.
do think like God, the universe brings us something even better than we could. He might fit all the things you knew you wanted, but then he has more you didn't even know you loved in a man, you know, and it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm such a romantic, so I just could go on and on about
I
this point.
love that.
It's
I love that. Yes.
emotional. Yes, it feels like home, and there's relative ease.
Right.
Oh, and that's the feeling. That's how I knew, as I remember. Anyways, there was a moment where I felt like I had my knowing, and it was in a hug with my husband where I felt just the deepest peace I had
Oh,
ever felt. And it was like undeniable clarity. And that's what I want to just inspire you guys. You will have undeniable clarity when you know. And it's okay if it takes time to
right.
discover it. Like,
Yeah.
mhm,
I
yeah,
totally agree. It takes time. It takes time because at the beginning we project things on him.
totally.
Only time will really allow the relationship to unfold, and
Right.
it's going to really show his character, who he is. It's over time.
Yes.
But, a lot of people they know what to say and what to do. There are a lot of men out there that do know what to say and what to do. I have been with some of them in my 20s, but they don't have what it takes to do it over the long run. It's
Yeah.
usually short-lived. So time is of essence. So
Oh, I
thank
love
you
that.
so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you have an amazing gift for our viewers. So would you mind to share it with them?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. So this is a free masterclass. It's about an hour long, and I love, 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 love this class. I was re-listening to it today and just feeling really proud of it. It's called Date Like a Queen to Attract Your King. So right on topic with everything we talked about today. And inside this masterclass, I'm going to support you guys in transforming any patterns of attracting unavailable men. That's a big one in the women that are often attracted to my work. That's the dynamic, is they attract attractive men who can't give them what they want.
Oh my God, yes.
I think a lot of women have facing that problem. So I share the inner transformation necessary. We go through the limiting beliefs and how to become a woman who is fully available herself. So she's a magnet for that type of available man who she has passion and chemistry with. Let's not forget.
Sounds wonderful.
Yes. And then I also go into what I like to call the magnetic dating guidelines. So the actual practical steps to take when it comes to actual dating to make sure that you attract those high quality men. So it's awesome. And, you know, I'm really
Thank you.
excited to
It's
give that.
great value. Absolutely, absolutely great value. The link is going to be underneath this interview. You can just click there and get it. Takes 1 second. Very easy. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for being here. It has been so beautiful to talk with you, and you have given so much value. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Natalia. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes.